Alyssa, what do you tell people when they question their faith when they get diagnosed with cancer? For some, it's a reinforcer of faith, and for some, they question it because now they're
Sure.
grappling with suffering that some people
Yeah.
feel like they didn't deserve.
You're allowed to feel that way. There were days that I pleaded, like, why me, and you're allowed to be mad, right? It's not fair. As you go through the journey you're faced with, you see how strong you can be. And whatever that leads you to, maybe it'll circle back to your faith. It might be a longer timeline, and everyone's journey is different. But I think it's such a fair thing. You're allowed to feel how you feel.
Hi, everyone. This is Samira Daswani, the host of the podcast, The Patient from Hell. I have a very cool guest with us today. I have Alyssa Wakeley, who is joining us from... Where are you joining us from, Alyssa?
Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Thank you for being on this episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
All right. Can we start with your organization? Because I think I met you in the fall at Encoda's conference.
That's right. Yep. So I founded Warriors That Pray. So it's a jewelry line, and we do bracelets and necklaces, and all handmade, hand designed. And the premise is that every time someone makes a purchase, I gift a certain bracelet to cancer warriors around the world. So it's a buy one, give one mission. And
How did you come to found the organization?
So which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit, I'm a stage 3 breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2020, and really, community was a huge thing for me. During COVID, of course, too. So that changed the whole, experience. But, it was my disciple group that really surrounded me. Of course, my immediate family, my mom, and basically with all that they poured into me through meals and, funds and gifts for my kids, I wanted to do something to thank them. And so I started making bracelets with little crosses on them. And it was just something that I could do while I was recovering, while I was laying around, and it gave me a sense of joy to bead. And it was a creative outlet, essentially. So anyways, I gifted those, and it just, the ladies in my disciple group loved them. And, fast forward, it took some time to heal physically, emotionally, mentally. And so I just started this in 2023. So just going on a year and a half. And that's how it all began, essentially.
That's amazing. What was the group
you
keep mentioning? The group you were a part of? What's it called?
Yeah, so it's just my disciple group. So it's a bunch of ladies through church, all different ages and walks of life. And we come together every week and have a Bible study, essentially is another term for it. And
That's incredible. And you grew up in Florida?
I did, yes. Native Floridian. Just kind of migrated up the coast.
So when I met you at the conference, I remember you telling me that you're working with hospital groups as well.
Yes. So really the biggest part is, the cancer piece and giving back. And so I've found through the help of social media, I can get to some people that are going through treatment and their families, but really the support of hospitals and organizations that support these patients are who I've been trying to connect with. So that way I can just gift, a bulk amount to them, and they can be the hands and feet, essentially. To get the mission out there. So, yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about why jewelry? Like what made you start with jewelry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm a bracelet person. I've got my stack. I always have had one. I don't know. It's just kind of a personal preference. And I think it's just for me, I like to use it as like, it's a tangible reminder, right? Like we use our hands every time you look down, like whether it's a word of encouragement or the simple cross or, it's just a tangible thing that can be a reminder that, for me, it's someone's praying for you. Someone's thinking about you. Like you've got this, just motivation, encouragement. And I wear necklaces too. So kind of a personal thing, but I've found that others enjoy it as well, which is neat.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what prayer, faith, religion meant to you when you were going through treatment?
Everyone has their own faith journey. And for me, I think getting diagnosed with cancer was that time that really, I grew so much in my faith walk. Because when you're faced with something like cancer or just a hard time, where do you look to? And for me, it was up. And so I really just honed into my family and, like I said, my disciple group, and really just prayer was a huge thing for me because, and I believe it's a huge thing for everyone because, when you live in a different state or you don't have the funding or whatever the thing may be that may prohibit you from helping, one thing that anyone and everyone can do is pray. And whether that's, pray with your faith in God and Jesus or whatever religion or, your beliefs are specifically, I think prayer is just a way that you can think of that person, and plead on their behalf and just encourage them essentially. And we all can do that, which is, amazing.
So I have a two-part question, one personal, and then the other one more based on the organization you run.
Sure.
So I heard you say cancer was kind of the start of you evolving through your faith journey.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about what that means and how did you evolve?
Yeah. I think it's like, for me, when you're in a season where all you can do is look up, that it's like you lose hope. I was 27 years old. I was a single mom at the time, two young kids, one 4 years old, one kindergarten, in a time of COVID, like January. I think it was literally 5 years ago, Monday, that I had my first chemo. So, I mean, it was a tough time. And, for me, it wasn't rock bottom, so to speak, but when you come to a season of your life where you don't know where to turn, for me, it was turning to him. And that's what got me through. Was it easy? No. Did it make the journey easier? No. But I remember pleading with God and saying, I don't, this is the journey, right? I don't get to change it. Here, it is what it is. I've been diagnosed. So in this season, I want to at least be a light to others. I want to make the decision that anyone I come in contact with, I want them to see something different about me, whether I'm, lose my hair or, getting sick, whatever. Like, I wanted to be a light and stand out in a different way so that people then could turn to him. That was just my plea. And it wasn't easy. Trust me. Like, it's easy on this side saying it with a big smile. Right. But there were days that, and lots of days and weeks that were a struggle, but, making that cognizant decision was just like so important to me.
Alyssa, what do you tell people when they question their faith when they get diagnosed with cancer? Because I've heard the opposite happen too. Like some people, for some it's a reinforcer of faith, and for some they question it because now they're grappling with suffering that some people feel like they didn't deserve, or now they're in a world where they're going through something that is so much worse than they had imagined. So how do you think about that, and how do you communicate that with people?
Yeah, and that's very fair. And, you're allowed to feel that way, right? Like there were days that, like I said, it seems all the journey was so great now, but there were days that I pleaded, like, why me, and you're allowed to be mad. You're allowed to be angry. Like I think of God as like my father, right? And like your kids, right? I have two elementary school age children, and it's like, if they want to have candy for dinner, like they're allowed to be mad at me when I say no. You know what I mean? Like and again, these are not the same things, but it's like, you're allowed to be mad, right? It's not fair. But I think as you go through the journey you're faced with, you see how strong you can be, and whatever that leads you to, maybe it'll circle back to your faith. It might be a longer timeline, and everyone's journey is different, but I think it's such a fair thing. You're allowed to feel how you feel.
And then what role did prayer specifically play for you? Both in terms of your prayer, but also people praying for you. How did that show up for you?
Yeah. I think in that season, I really lacked prayer for myself. And I think it was the prayers around me, and I think people can say, I'm praying for you, but it's like, even that is huge. Like to know that someone cares about you, in a season that is so tough. Like, why not? You know, like, and one of my disciple group leader at the time, she has a son that was in college, and one of the professors was like, how many of you believe someone's praying for you? Like, did a little questionnaire, and like, let's say 10 out of 100 raise their hand. And he's like, I want you all to raise your hand because I'm praying for each one of you. And that like stuck with me because it's like that one person, one prayer, one time could have changed the trajectory of anyone's life. And we won't get to know until the other side of heaven, which fine, but you never know how you can impact someone. So I really feel like the prayers of my group and just people it was just immense support for me in my journey.
And then how did that manifest on your website or the organization?
Yeah. So really, like I said, I Warriors That Pray is the premise is that, we all as humans crave connection. Like that's what we were created for, connection and to be, in human connection. And so I think when you're going through something like this or just any hard time, you want to have that support system. And so the bracelets, and then I also have a prayer corner where people can submit prayer requests. And it's just another way to find connection. And, also I think a lot of times in our own life, we can see the situations and the circumstances we're dealing with as so hard, but someone always has it worse. And I think seeing that compilation of prayers and what people all around the world are dealing with just puts in perspective, my hard time or your hard time or whatever, and just to be of encouragement and support to others that are also going through something difficult.
So anybody can come to your website and put in a request for a prayer, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like a little message board, blog type system. So yeah.
That's incredible. I saw that and I thought that was so powerful because I think it can also be a very lonely experience for a lot of people. And just having that moment of, I think to the point you made, connection, I think can mean a lot. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say with breast cancer, it also can be a very vulnerable thing, and so, something like that can be simple and, still asking for support, but not broadcasting it necessarily.
Yeah. Can you share any memorable story of someone who either the bracelet or the prayers themselves have really impacted?
Yeah. And to start, I just want to say, my hope is to impact others. But before I tell this story, I just have to say, like, I'm so grateful because I want to pour into other people's cup, but my cup has overflowed with doing what I'm doing. It's just so that in itself, like the reactions that people have had has been amazing. But I do have a friend or an acquaintance that I knew or know, and she was an amazing fashion designer here locally, loved her dress line. And probably about 2 years ago or a year ago, she reached out to me and said, no one else knows, but I have breast cancer. And immediately was like, help with doctors. Like, I've been watching your journey on social media. And again, we knew of each other and have met in person, but not like text, whatever. And so helped her get some of the same doctors I had and just, really was there in the best way that I could be. And reconnected with her after and sent her a bracelet. This was probably a year after the treatment, she's kind of settled into being a survivor. And I just got a text probably 2 weeks ago that was like, hey, I'm at MD Anderson here in Jacksonville, because she's since moved. She's like, I'm here for my 2-year follow-up. Everything's good. I just bought another bracelet because MD Anderson sells them in their gift shop here locally. And she's like, I just bought another one and a couple others for friends because I've been wearing the one you gave me for a year straight. And it's finally like just, bit the dust. And so I just want to tell you, like, I can't thank you enough for the recommendations with doctors and just being there for me and for this little, silly bracelet ultimately that just encouraged me to keep going. So it's like, just something like that is just, you can't, I don't know. it was just an amazing to get that text at like 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. Like, wow, that's awesome.
So much more than a silly bracelet, huh?
Right. Yeah. So that's just one example.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
We're going to now transition to rapid fire. Rapid
Okay.
fire is when I ask you a couple of questions, and hopefully you can give me a short, quick answer. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is Warriors Who Pray?
Warriors That Pray is a company that our premise is to bless others and let warriors know that they're not alone, whether it's family members or the cancer patient themselves, and to let them know that they're seen, loved, and prayed for.
What is the Prayer Corner?
The Prayer Corner is where we offer support, encouragement, and just an outlet for people to share what they're going through in a safe space.
What advice would you give to a patient who is struggling to advocate for themselves?
Speak up. The doctors don't know. They want to help you and they can't read your mind. So speak up, share what's going on, how you're feeling, and so they can help.
What advice do you share with a newly diagnosed patient?
Take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Small victories. Don't look at the finish line, just get through the small victories.
What advice do you share with a young mom who has breast cancer?
Get your support group, like the people that can help you with the kids. And here's a huge one: ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. It'll be the biggest blessing to ask for help in this season.
What advice do you give to a caregiver or a loved one who wants to support someone with cancer?
Gosh, I think of my mom in that one. Show up. My mom showing up to every appointment, like even at 27, that was huge for me. Having her there, a second set of ears, writing notes, just being there. That's what you can do. Huge impact.
If you belong to a church or a religious group and you know someone in your community is going through cancer, what advice do you give them to help that patient?
Reach out, but again, I don't want to say just pray, but pray. Pray for that person. Even if it's something they don't know about, just do it.
Okay. How can someone buy a bracelet from you?
So we have a website. It's warriorsthatpray.com. Or if you want to follow me on Instagram, I like to post some reels and me making them, and it's fun. It's turned into like a little community, which is awesome.
And then which hospitals can someone go buy your bracelets from?
So right now, MD Anderson in Jacksonville, Florida. And then I've got just the 14th location. So a lot of boutiques. So that's my only hospital, but 13 other boutiques, mostly in Northeast Florida, and then one in Orlando and one in Texas. Yeah. And those are on the website as well. So if you're close by and want to support, their business, you can go there.
All right. Last question for you.
All right.
5 years from now, where do you hope your organization is?
I hope to have a whole team around me just going out and blessing people. And maybe it's not bracelets anymore, but you can never have too many bracelets.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And all the impact you have had in the community and will continue to have.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
This podcast, show notes, and newsletter is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or any materials linked from this blog is at the user's own risk. The opinions of the speakers are their own and do not represent the opinions of organizations they're affiliated with, nor do they reflect the opinions of Mantacares Inc. or Mantacares' sponsors.